The sleek, crystalline ships of the Valkyrie Imperium glide into Earth's orbit like predatory fish, their hulls shimmering with energy fields beyond human understanding. Admiral Tsenlak observes Earth's clumsy satellites and primitive space stations through narrowed eyes, mandibles clicking in what passes for amusement among his kind. These creatures barely understand the basics of gravitic manipulation, he remarks to his bridge crew. Our scans indicate their most advanced propulsion systems still rely on chemical combustion, reports Science Officer Vexara, her iridescent scales reflecting the holographic displays surrounding her station. Their global communication network is rudimentary, and their weapon systems would barely scratch our auxiliary vessels. Admiral Tsenlak rises from his command chair, towering nearly 8 feet tall. His exoskeleton gleams with the metallic inlays that denote his rank and battle honors from a dozen successful planetary acquisitions. Prepare the diplomatic envoy. Follow standard protocol for pre-spacefaring species. Offer them the protection of the Imperium in exchange for resource rights and technological vassalage. Meanwhile, in a Houston command center, Commander Elena Reyes squints at the holographic projections of the alien vessels, her mind already racing with questions about their propulsion systems. The room buzzes with frantic activity as military and civilian leaders argue about how to respond to the unprecedented situation. Those aren't conventional engines, Elena mutters, zooming in on the alien ship's propulsion wake. There's almost no thermal signature, but look at the gravitational distortion they're creating. General Williams glances at her with barely concealed impatience. Commander Reyes, we need defensive options, not a physics lecture. Elena straightens, her dark eyes never leaving the display. With all due respect, sir, understanding their technology is our best defense. Those ships are manipulating gravity itself for propulsion. That suggests their shields and weapons likely operate on principles we haven't even theorized yet. The emergency conference is interrupted as the Valkyrie diplomatic team requests permission to land at the United Nations headquarters in New York. World leaders reluctantly agree, seeing little alternative. The alien delegation arrives in a smaller vessel that lands with impossible precision. Their translator devices convert their clicking, harmonic language into eerily perfect English as they deliver their message. Earth can join the Valkyrie Imperium as a protected territory, with access to basic technological improvements in exchange for exclusive mining rights and adherence to imperial law. This is not negotiable, the lead diplomat explains with artificial cordiality. It is simply the natural order. Advanced civilizations shepherd developing ones. We offer this same arrangement to all species we encounter. As the world's political leaders debate the thinly veiled ultimatum, Elena slips away to her workshop, where she begins sketching modifications to Earth's defensive systems based solely on her observations of the aliens' engine exhaust patterns. The gravitational wake has regular oscillations, she explains to Dr. Marcus Chen, a brilliant physicist she's worked with for years. That implies their field generators operate on predictable frequencies. Ken studies her equations, eyes widening. If we could match those frequencies with our own counterfields. Exactly, Elena nods, already assembling components from various projects scattered around her cluttered lab. They've never had to defend against someone who could actually disrupt their gravitic systems, because they've never encountered anyone who could observe and understand them quickly enough. The Valkyrie ambassador returns to his ship, confident that humanity will choose survival over pride. He fails to notice the determined gleam in the human engineer's eyes as they begin working through the night, taking apart salvaged communication devices the Valkyrie considered mere gifts. Admiral Tsenlak receives the diplomatic report with satisfaction. Begin positioning the fleet for pacification procedures. The humans will have their answer within their solar cycle. Prepare for either outcome, though I suspect these primitives are rational enough to accept our generous offer. In Elena's lab, the first prototype of a gravity-disrupting field generator sparks to life, its readings matching the alien frequency patterns perfectly. Admiral Tsenlak's flagship leads the first wave of what should be a routine subjugation. The massive vessel, nearly 2 kilometers in length, dominates the formation of 30 attack cruisers as they approach Earth's orbit. On the command deck, holographic displays show Earth's meager defense satellites and hastily armed space stations. Their response to our generous offer was disappointing but predictable. Tsenlak addresses his officers. Primitive species often require a demonstration of power before accepting the inevitable. Target their largest military installations with precision strikes. Minimal civilian casualties, they will be our workforce soon enough. His tactical officer reports that Earth's primitive defense grid is powering up, and the bridge crew shares a moment of amusement at the futility of resistance. The first salvo of modified railgun projectiles seems to confirm their superiority as they splash harmlessly against Valkyrie shields, bright flares of energy dissipating across the crystalline barrier. Their weapons technology hasn't advanced beyond basic kinetic projectiles. Science Officer Vexara observes dismissively. Hardly worth. A sudden alarm cuts her off as sensors detect an anomaly. One peculiar round creates a localized resonance cascade in the shields of a support vessel. Warning signals flash across the command deck as shield harmonics fluctuate wildly. In a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Marcus Chen directs the defense operation, his fingers flying across adaptive control systems as he adjusts frequencies in real time. Surrounding him, a team of engineers and physicists monitor incoming data from around the globe. The shield's molecular lattice structure has predictable oscillation patterns, he explains to his astonished team while typing furiously. They never considered someone might exploit that. Commander Reyes was right. Their technology relies on consistent gravitational frequencies. A young engineer looks up from her station. We've got shield penetration on 3 enemy vessels. Confirmed hits to their propulsion systems. Ken nods, his expression intense. Keep cycling the disruption frequencies. They'll try to adapt, but we can stay ahead of them if we keep the pattern random enough. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Tsenlak grips his command chair as warning klaxons blare. 3 support vessels list helplessly, their shields penetrated by weapons that should be millennia from troubling Valkyrie defenses. Damage reports flood in as precisely targeted Earth weapons strike critical systems. Impossible, Vexara whispers, her scales paling to a sickly green. They couldn't have analyzed our shield harmonics so quickly. Switch to adaptive shielding protocols. Tsenlak orders, mandibles tight with restraint. Rotate all frequencies on an asymmetric pattern. These humans have gotten lucky, nothing more. As the Valkyrie fleet adjusts their defenses, the Earth weapons lose effectiveness. Tsenlak allows himself a moment of relief before ordering the continuation of the attack. A fortunate anomaly, he insists to his increasingly nervous crew, prepare the second assault wave. Back on Earth, Elena Reyes studies the incoming sensor data showing the Valkyrie shield adjustments. They're using adaptive harmonics now, she communicates to Chen's team. Just as we predicted. Initiate Phase 2. A new barrage launches from Earth's defense platforms, projectiles that appear identical to the first wave, but contain a different payload. As they impact the Valkyrie shields, Instead of attempting penetration, they attach and begin broadcasting disruptive electromagnetic pulses calibrated to the specific frequency patterns of Valkyrie communications. Aboard the flagship, confusion erupts as ship-to-ship communications suddenly dissolve into static. Coordinated attack formations break down as vessels lose contact with each other. They're jamming us using our own shield frequencies as a carrier wave, Vexara reports, unable to keep the shock from her voice. This technology shouldn't be possible for them. In his private thoughts, a seed of doubt takes root as Admiral Tsenlak watches his perfectly orchestrated assault descend into disarray. These humans were adapting far too quickly for a species that had barely reached their own moon. Commander Reyes crouches beside a downed Valkyrie scout ship, her environment suit's sensors analyzing the still-hot engine components. The vessel had crash-landed in the Australian outback after sustaining damage during the retreat of the first Valkyrie assault wave. A perimeter of military personnel keeps the site secure while engineering teams work feverishly to extract every bit of intelligence before Valkyrie recovery forces arrive. Their thermal management is surprisingly inefficient. She radios to Dr. Chen, who monitors the operation from the Rocky Mountain bunker. They're relying on their shields to compensate for engineering shortcomings. Look at these heat exchange modules. They are channeling excess energy through a crystalline matrix instead of dispersing it. Elena runs her scanner over the exposed engine core, her eyes widening as data streams across her helmet display. The propulsion system generates enormous heat during combat maneuvers. I'm detecting thermal concentrations at least 5 times what our systems would tolerate. That tracks with our observations during the battle, Chen responds. Their ships showed significant thermal blooms whenever they executed high-energy maneuvers. We assumed it was intentional. It's not, Elena confirms, carefully extracting a damaged component from the alien engine. It's a design flaw they've never needed to address. Their technological supremacy meant they never optimized for efficiency, just raw power. Around her, a team of engineers scavenge components with practiced efficiency, already envisioning new applications. Every piece is photographed, scanned, and catalogued before being carefully removed and packed for transport. "We have company," announces the security team leader. Satellite tracking shows 3 Valkyrie vessels entering atmosphere. ETA 18 minutes. Elena nods, unsurprised. "We've got what we need. Pack up and move out." Across the globe, automotive factories retool to produce heat-seeking missile modifications based on Reyes findings. Engineers work around the clock, adapting thermal targeting systems to lock onto the specific heat signatures of Valkyrie ships. Military bases become impromptu manufacturing centers as 3D printers churn out components designed by international teams collaborating remotely. 3 days later, the Valkyrie launch their second major offensive. Their approach is more cautious this time, with adjusted shield frequencies and overwhelming numbers. They jam Earth's communication networks with sophisticated quantum interference, expecting chaos to ensue. Admiral Tsenlak observes the tactical display from his command center, noting with satisfaction that Earth's defense platforms appear disorganized without central coordination. "Begin the primary attack run," he orders. "Target their largest military installations." The Valkyrie fleet accelerates toward Earth, their ships executing complex evasive patterns that require enormous energy expenditure. Warning systems remain fixated on detecting the shield-penetrating projectiles from the previous engagement. Instead, they encounter a new threat: thousands of small missiles launching from seemingly isolated human outposts. The Valkyrie point defense systems target the incoming weapons, but the missiles' erratic flight patterns make them difficult to intercept. "They're targeting our drive systems," reports a panicked tactical officer as the first missiles strike. "Somehow they're homing in on our thermal signatures." Admiral Tsenlak watches in disbelief as his ship's cooling systems overload under targeted attacks. Critical temperature warnings flash across multiple vessels as the missiles strike with unerring precision, exploiting the same thermal vulnerability in ship after ship. "Impossible," Tsenlak mutters. "They couldn't possibly have reverse-engineered our technology so quickly." In her mobile command center, Elena watches the battlefield hologram as Valkyrie ships begin to withdraw, their formation in disarray. Several vessels trail visible energy plumes, overheating engines pushed beyond safe operating parameters. "They're running," confirms a junior officer. Elena nods, already turning to the next challenge. "They'll be back with countermeasures. We need to be ready with Phase 3. The retreat order comes reluctantly from Admiral Tsenlak, but the alternative is losing half his fleet to a species that, just days ago, barely qualified as technologically sentient in Valkyrie classification systems. The orbital blockade tightens around Earth, Valkyrie ships positioned to intercept any attempt at evacuation or supply runs. Their formation creates an impenetrable net, with overlapping sensor coverage and weapon ranges that leave no gaps for conventional vessels to slip through. Admiral Tsenlak addresses the Valkyrie High Command via secure quantum transmission, his posture rigid with forced confidence. "The humans have displayed unexpected resourcefulness, but our containment strategy is sound. They'll starve themselves into submission within a planetary rotation cycle." The eldest member of the High Command, Archon Velzar, fixes Tsenlak with an unsettling gaze. "You assured us this primitive species would fall in a single engagement. Now you speak of siege tactics." "A temporary adjustment," Tsenlak responds carefully. "Their resistance is unsustainable. They simply require additional persuasion." In the meandering tunnels of a reproposed salt mine beneath Kansas, Dr. Chen leads a team of the world's best hackers and quantum physicists in analyzing captured Valkyrie communication devices. The cavernous space hums with the energy of dozens of improvised workstations, where scientists from formerly rival nations work side by side. Their encryption relies on predictable quantum state transitions, he explains, drawing complex diagrams on a whiteboard. They'd never had to defend against someone who could observe and manipulate these states. A young programmer raises her hand. "We've identified a pattern in their authentication protocols. The quantum signatures repeat every 7 microseconds with only slight variations." Ken nods excitedly. "That's our way in. If we can synchronize our signals to match their encryption rhythm, we can insert our own commands that their systems will recognize as legitimate." Across the planet, Commander Reyes oversees the conversion of commercial spacecraft into combat vessels, applying modular designs that can be rapidly 3D printed and assembled by automotive workers. Former luxury cruise ships, cargo haulers, and even satellite maintenance vehicles undergo radical transformations in makeshift shipyards. "The key is to make them unpredictable," she explains to a group of civilian engineers now leading military projects. The Valkyrie expect conventional military tactics. Their combat algorithms are designed to counter traditional formations. We'll do the opposite. She activates a holographic display showing a simulation of Earth vessels moving in complex, seemingly chaotic patterns. Each ship will operate semi-autonomously, using swarming behavior modeled on insect colonies. No central command for them to disrupt. When the blockade detects unusual movement near Jupiter's moons, the Valkyrie dispatch a reconnaissance force, 12 cruisers of the latest Imperial design. They approach in perfect formation, sensors primed to catalogue the human activity. Instead, they find themselves surrounded by a swarm of converted Earth vessels using attack patterns based on insect behavior. Former mining ships dart in to deliver precise strikes before retreating. Retrofitted passenger liners serve as decoys, broadcasting confusing sensor signatures. Agricultural ships reproposed with stolen Valkyrie technology generate localized interference fields. Most disturbing to the Valkyrie commanders is how the human vessels seem to anticipate their every counter move, exploiting blind spots in Valkyrie sensor technology that the aliens themselves never realized existed. In his command center, Admiral Tsenlak receives fragmentary distress calls from the reconnaissance force before all contact is lost. The tactical display shows all 12 vessels neutralized in less than 20 minutes, an outcome that should be impossible against a pre-FTL civilization. For the first time in his distinguished career, Admiral Tsenlak feels genuine uncertainty about the outcome of a military campaign. The humans aren't fighting according to any recognizable doctrine. They're improvising, adapting, evolving their tactics with every engagement. They're playing a game whose rules we don't understand, he realizes with growing unease. The captured Valkyrie cruiser rests in a hastily constructed hangar beneath the Antarctic ice sheet, surrounded by Earth's brightest minds. Teams of engineers work in 3 shifts, ensuring the analysis continues without interruption. The vessel, nearly intact after a precision-disabling strike, represents the most sophisticated technology humans have ever encountered. Commander Reyes runs her hand along the alien alloys, feeling the subtle vibrations of the dormant engine core. After 2 weeks of intensive study, she and her team have begun to grasp the fundamental principles behind the Valkyrie propulsion system. They're using quantum field manipulation to reduce inertial mass, she murmurs to Dr. Chen, who nods excitedly. But look at these harmonic stabilizers. They are compensating for a resonance problem instead of solving it. Chen adjusts his glasses, examining the component she indicates. They've built layers of technological solutions atop each other, each generation adding complexity rather than revisiting the fundamental design. Like building a skyscraper on a flawed foundation, then adding support beams indefinitely instead of fixing the foundation, Reyes replies, her mind already racing with possibilities. Around them, scientists from dozens of nations collaborate in a way unprecedented in human history. Theoretical physicists work alongside mechanical engineers, software developers beside materials scientists. National rivalries and corporate competition have evaporated in the face of the existential threat. A young graduate student approaches them hesitantly, clutching a tablet. Commander Reyes? Dr. Chen. I think I found something important. Akira Tanaka specializes in musical acoustics and normally studies the mathematics of harmonics in symphony orchestras. Recruited for his expertise in wave propagation theory, he's been examining the Valkyrie engine's operational frequencies. The propulsion system's efficiency drops at certain resonance points, he explains, displaying complex waveforms. It's like an orchestra where some instruments are slightly out of tune. The Valkyrie compensate with these stabilizers, but if we adjust the base frequency itself. The breakthrough sends ripples of excitement through the research facility. Teams immediately begin redesigning components based on Tanaka's harmonics theory. Instead of working around the resonance issue like the Valkyrie, they address it directly. Within weeks, the first hybrid human Valkyrie drive system achieves 143% of the original alien specifications. The prototype, cobbled together from salvaged alien technology and Earth-manufactured components, demonstrates unprecedented efficiency. They've been using this technology for centuries, maybe millennia, Reyes tells the assembled engineers as they celebrate the successful test. But they stopped innovating. They perfected a flawed design instead of questioning its foundations. Across Earth, similar breakthroughs occur as humans approach alien technology without preconceptions. Shield generators become more efficient when redesigned using principles from bubble physics. Weapon systems gain precision through algorithms borrowed from weather prediction models. The Valkyrie tracking stations detect impossible velocity signatures as upgraded Earth vessels execute maneuvers that should tear conventional hulls apart. The first combat deployment of hybrid dry ships confounds alien tacticians as human vessels achieve acceleration rates that outperform the Valkyrie's most advanced designs. In his private quarters, Admiral Tsenlak reviews the combat footage with growing alarm, watching human ships using modified versions of Valkyrie technology that somehow perform better than the originals. Reports flood in from engagement after engagement, Earth vessels displaying capabilities that should be centuries beyond their development timeline. They're not just copying our designs, he realizes with dawning horror. They're improving them during active combat conditions. He activates his communication array, requesting an emergency session with the High Command. This situation requires their most powerful asset, the gravitational superweapon that has ended civilizations far more advanced than humanity's. These humans need to be dealt with, he tells his second-in-command, before they improve themselves beyond our ability to contain them. The Valkyrie superweapon emerges from hyperspace near Mars, a massive construction resembling a mechanical leviathan. Nearly 20 kilometers in length, its surface bristles with energy conduits and field generators that make the rest of the Valkyrie fleet look primitive by comparison. At its heart lies technology capable of manipulating gravity on a scale that can tear planets apart. The terminus has arrived, Admiral Tsenlak announces to his commanders, satisfaction evident in his tone. The High Command has authorized its deployment against the human threat. Science Officer Vexara studies the readouts with professional interest. The Human Research Outpost on Mars presents an ideal demonstration target. Its destruction will be visible from Earth's surface. The terminus powers its primary weapon, drawing energy from artificial quantum singularities contained within its core. Space itself seems to warp as the gravitational weapon engulfs the Human Research Outpost, crushing structures and people into an infinitesimal point of matter. The entire facility, home to 300 of Earth's brightest minds, collapses into a sphere smaller than a grain of sand before winking out of existence. Admiral Tsenlak transmits footage of the demonstration to Earth's governmental centers. You have 24 of your hours to surrender unconditionally. The next demonstration will target your largest population center. He expects immediate surrender negotiations. Instead, Earth goes silent for 3 days. In Commander Reyes' underground laboratory, holographic simulations run continuously as she and Dr. Chen refine their desperate countermeasure. Sleepless engineers and physicists crowd around displays showing the terminus weapon effects, analyzing every fragment of data from the Mars attack. The principle is simple, she explains to military leaders gathered in emergency session. Their gravity weapon creates a controlled singularity. If we can introduce particles that amplify the gravitational effect beyond their containment parameters. General Williams looks skeptical. You're suggesting we make their weapon more powerful. That's your solution. Exactly, Dr. Chen interjects. It's like adding too much fuel to a fire. Their weapon is designed to create and control a specific gravitational effect. If we can push it beyond those parameters, it will consume itself. Reyes projects a simulation showing specially designed particles interacting with the terminus gravitational field. They've never needed to consider defense against their own weapon. Why would they? No one has ever survived encountering it before. Across Earth, particle accelerators are hastily converted to produce the specialized matter required for Reyes' plan. Manufacturing facilities work around the clock to construct thousands of unmanned drones designed to deliver the payload. As the Valkyrie deadline approaches, Admiral Tsenlak prepares the terminus for its second demonstration. No response from the humans, he notes with mild surprise. Perhaps they require further convincing. The drone swarm launches from Earth's dark side, each unmanned craft containing specially designed particles created in particle accelerators worldwide. Small and with minimal energy signatures, they approach the terminus from multiple vectors, making it impossible to intercept them all. When the superweapon activates against this apparent attack, the released particles interact with its gravitational field in ways the Valkyrie never anticipated. The weapon's event horizon expands uncontrollably, consuming the superweapon itself in a spectacular implosion. From the bridge of his command vessel, Admiral Tsenlak stares at the empty space where the pride of the Valkyrie fleet once existed. The terminus, a weapon that had demolished civilizations far more advanced than Earth, defeated through elegant manipulation of its own principles. How? Vexara whispers, her scales pale with shock. How could they understand gravitational singularity physics well enough to counteract it? Tsenlak has no answer. He's finally understanding that he faces not just an enemy, but an entirely different way of approaching technology, one that values creative improvisation over perfected tradition. For the first time, he considers that the Valkyrie might actually lose this conflict. Admiral Tsenlak orders the remaining Valkyrie forces to defensive positions at the edge of the solar system, granting Earth a brief respite. The destruction of the terminus, a weapon thought to be invincible, has shaken the Valkyrie command structure to its core. For the first time in recorded history, the Imperium considers the possibility of a strategic withdrawal. We must reassess and reinforce, Tsenlak informs his captains. The humans have proven more adaptable than anticipated. We will hold position and await reinforcements from the home fleet. On Earth, the victory brings not celebration but intensified preparation. In that precious time, Commander Reyes oversees the implementation of Dr. Chen's most ambitious project yet. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean in a reproposed submarine base, engineers work to integrate their most advanced breakthrough into Earth's remaining fleet. The Valkyrie shields operate by phase-shifting matter slightly out of normal space-time. Dr. Chen explains to a room of skeptical military officials. We found a way to extend this principle to entire ships. He activates a holographic display showing a small test vessel surrounded by a shimmering field. By pushing the phase variance beyond what the Valkyrie considered safe limits, we can temporarily shift a vessel into an intermediate dimensional state. Not quite here, not quite elsewhere. General Williams frowns. What exactly does that mean in practical terms? It means we can move through their defensive lines as if they weren't there, Reyes clarifies. Traditional sensors can't detect objects in this phase state. Their weapons can't target what they can't see. And you're certain this works? Asks the Secretary of Defense. This isn't theoretical physics anymore. We are betting everything on this technology. In answer, Chen activates a video feed showing a test ship vanishing from normal space, passing through a solid concrete wall and reappearing on the other side. Earth's remaining fleet undergoes radical modifications, integrating salvaged Valkyrie technology with human innovations. Engineers work around the clock, applying the phase shift technology to vessels ranging from converted military ships to civilian craft repurposed for combat. When the attack comes, the Valkyrie detect nothing until Earth ships materialize inside their defensive formation, bypassing their most sophisticated sensor networks. Alarms blare across the alien fleet as human vessels appear seemingly from nowhere, targeting critical systems with surgical precision before shifting back into phase space. Admiral Tsenlak watches in disbelief as his carefully arranged defensive screen collapses into chaos. His flagship rocks with impacts as a human destroyer phases into normal space directly alongside it, fires all weapons at point-blank range, then disappears before countermeasures can engage. How are they doing this? He demands, mandibles clicking in agitation. Where are they coming from? They're exploiting principles of dimensional phasing that we deemed too unstable for practical application. His science officer responds, analyzing the sensor data. They're pushing the technology beyond safety parameters we established millennia ago. Valkyrie commanders panic as human vessels appear seemingly from nowhere, targeting critical systems with surgical precision before shifting back into phase space. For the first time in over 2,000 years of expansion, the Valkyrie Imperium faces an enemy in their home territory. In his command center, surrounded by reports of mounting losses, Admiral Tsenlak makes the most difficult decision of his career. The Valkyrie tactical doctrine has no protocol for this situation, no precedent for addressing an enemy that can bypass all conventional defenses. Establish direct communication with the human command, he orders, his voice subdued. Request a cessation of hostilities to discuss terms. His second-in-command stares in shock. You wish to negotiate with primitives? No, Tsenlak corrects him, watching another battlecruiser vanish from tactical displays. Not with primitives, with equals. The negotiation chamber aboard the neutral station orbiting Jupiter hums with tension. A hastily constructed facility, it represents the first truly collaborative effort between human and Valkyrie engineers, a space where representatives of both species can meet without technological advantage. Admiral Tsenlak enters with his delegation, his exoskeleton bearing the ceremonial marks of disgrace. By requesting negotiations with a species the Imperium had classified as primitive, he has violated millennia of Valkyrie military doctrine. His career is forfeit, possibly his life as well, depending on the outcome. He expects to face demands for unconditional surrender or ruinous concessions. The humans have the tactical advantage. Their phase-shifted vessels now operate with impunity throughout the solar system, and reports suggest they've begun adapting the technology to penetrate deeper into Valkyrie territory. Commander Reyes enters with Dr. Chen, carrying not ultimatums but technical schematics. The human delegation is notably small, engineers and scientists rather than politicians or generals. Your propulsion systems suffer from quantum field instability at high velocities. She begins without preamble, displaying holographic models. We've solved that problem. We're also interested in your metallurgical techniques, which outperform ours in several categories. Confusion ripples through the Valkyrie delegation as Dr. Chen demonstrates how combining both species approaches creates technologies neither could develop alone. We don't want your territory or resources, Commander Reyes explains to the bewildered Admiral. We want a genuine partnership. Your civilization has millennia of knowledge we can learn from. But we've also demonstrated that our approach to engineering has value. Admiral Tsenlak studies the humans carefully. You could continue your offensive. Our analysts suggest you would likely prevail. At what cost? Rias counters. Thousands of lives lost on both sides. Decades of hostility. Or we could combine your established knowledge with our innovative approaches and achieve something extraordinary. The negotiations last 17 days. Initial skepticism from the Valkyrie High Command gradually gives way to cautious interest as human engineers demonstrate solution after solution to technical problems the Imperium had considered unsolvable. The resulting Galactic Engineering Cooperative transforms both civilizations. 5 years later, ships designed by joint teams explore regions previously thought unreachable. Research stations throughout the solar system tackle problems from clean energy to sustainable terraforming, combining Valkyrie efficiency with human creativity. In a classroom at Earth's Space Academy, Admiral Tsenlak, now respected as a visiting professor, gestures to a deconstructed engine core. Human and Valkyrie students sit side by side, the former wide-eyed with curiosity, the latter disciplined but increasingly willing to question established principles. The greatest error in my 4th-century career, he tells them, was believing that technological advancement follows a single predictable path. Your species taught mine that innovation thrives most in the chaotic environment of necessity, and that underestimating a creative engineer is the first step toward having your own ships redesigned during combat. Eleanor Rias, now director of the cooperative, enters the classroom with Dr. Chen. They've just returned from the first successful test of a revolutionary transportation system that will connect Earth and the Valkyrie homeworld. The true victory, she tells the students, wasn't defeating the Valkyrie fleet. It was recognizing that different perspectives make us stronger together than apart. Admiral Tsenlak inclines his head in agreement. Indeed. As we now understand, the most powerful technology isn't a weapon or a shield. It's collaboration between minds that approach problems differently. Beyond the Academy windows, a new generation of ships takes flight. Their designs unlike anything either civilization would have created alone, living proof that sometimes underestimating your opponent leads not to conquest, but to evolution.